MovieWeb.com.
So I wanted to ask you to begin with, what about the film? It takes place in the 60s in Britain. What about the period and the script by Nick Hornby that attracted you to the film?
Well, I think it was just that. I got very attracted to the film because I heard that Nick Hornby was writing a screenplay that he wasn't developing from a book that he'd already written. I love his books. And I read this, and immediately you're confronted with a very multi-layered, intriguing, well-developed script with characters who you completely relate to and understand immediately, which is very, very rare. But when you get such a talented writer as him, who does write such humorous, rounded characters, you're immediately compelled to be part of it, which I desperately wanted to be. Then I met the director, and I loved her ideas for the piece and how sensitive she was towards the era, and how much she knew about England at that time and about the change that was about to dramatically sweep across the country. And I loved the story. I thought it was a very touching, heartfelt story that I thought everyone would be able to relate to in a way. I completely understood where the characters were coming from and the situations that they were in, the desperation to change the route in which they were bound to be taking. I just think it has many human issues that we can all relate to, which are often, for me, things in films that make a film appealing. If I can relate to it and believe it and understand it and feel moved by it, then I'll care about it.
As an actor, how did the music, the art, the clothes of the period, how did that help shape your character?
Yeah, it gave me a complete idea and essence of who this person was, who comes from a very privileged and wealthy upbringing. The moment I saw the apartment that this character inhabited, I was like, all right, this is the guy. He's got every sort of top-of-the-range musical instrument that he no doubt can't play. All the latest artwork. Cares passionately about culture and issues that are going on in the time. He was a very well-educated person, and then you get these costumes that you can put on that change the way you stand and the way you feel. It's inhabiting the world in which my father, where my mum, that era, where my parents were from. So it's good to talk to them, get an understanding of what London was like, which ultimately sounded pretty depressing if you weren't living the lifestyle in which he lives. So then you question, why is this person who has all this stuff and everything that you think you could possibly want, why is he still going around to old women's houses stealing paintings off the wall? For the excitement, I suppose.
Well, it's an interesting relationship that your character and David have in the film. So I was wondering, was there any talk of backstory, any sort of relationship building that you and Peter did off the set to kind of create those characters? Because it's very
yeah, you had to believe. Yeah, well, luckily it was one of those things that just kind of happened. We all knew who each other were. We just got on immediately. We were kind of, and he's so. And one of the reasons which I think the film works and he does not seem so sleazy is because he is so charming and so giggly and such fun. And that's what he's like, and that's what we, I think, as the four, we just kind of had a laugh, and we were always allowed to sort of improvise around a scene or just sort of kind of not take anything too seriously. And I think that's the reason you believe in the camaraderie between the four friends.
Right. And your character does sort of just. Kind of watches this relationship that he has problems with unfold, doesn't do anything. So I was wondering, how did you sort of justify those decisions that your character made?
Well, he ultimately
still ended up being appealing to the audience.
Yeah, well, I think he actually genuinely finds it difficult this time. He's obviously watched it happen time and time again, but finally he sees someone into the world that he cares about and has the same passions and cares that he does for the things that he surrounds himself with, and he finally does want to put a stop to it. He's left it far too late and doesn't do nearly enough, and then actually turns around and protects himself in the end by not saying, I'm sorry. He doesn't. He says, no, well, you knew what you were getting involved in and you didn't say anything. So he ends up being pretty horrible, manipulative.